It's
We like to
time
shoot.
for a good old-fashioned Q&A.
And I'm allowed to
MMA
shoot
fans.
now because I'm in the biz. I'm in the business of shooting.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment has arrived.
That's what I do.
Hear from
Yeah,
the
that-
man
that
himself,
whole thing looked really
Ariel
good.
Helwani,
What look good?
live from the Box
Me on
Studios in
television?
Yeah.
beautiful
You
New
like that,
York
huh?
City.
Yeah, it was cool.
It's on the
What do you
nose.
guys think
And now, to
about
answer your
me
questions,
no-selling all of you,
get out of your
kayfabing
seats and
you,
on your
as they
feet
say in the
because
business? and
Yeah, I
not
thought you
telling
were in
about-
town.
Ariel Helwani.
And you were watching SmackDown, right? And you were like, holy shit, what's Helwani doing there? I thought he was at home having Shabbat dinner.
Literally dropped popcorn.
Is unbelievable. Oh, shout out to our good friends Bad Monkey Popcorn for the care package earlier today. I can't wait. I can't spake. Let's get to the questions, shall we? Moderator Lewis, burning the midnight oil. Where do you think that term comes from? Like, who was actually burning the midnight oil? I'd love to know.
Not gonna lie, I thought it was like a Jewish thing.
Because of Hanukkah?
Yeah,
Wow.
is that offensive?
Anti-Semitic, yeah.
Wow, that escalated really quickly.
Thank you very much, Mike Heck. I'm in a great mood today. Later on today, I'm going for dinner. Can I say this? I don't know if I could say this. I'm actually soon going to be known as a soccer journalist. I'm going out to dinner with Raj of Men in Blazers fame. GC, you know Men in Blazers?
I do.
You know how excited I am for this? He's a freaking legend.
Favorite podcast.
Yes, we're going out to dinner, me and him.
You like Men in Blazers more than you like the MMA Hour.
I don't know if that's an accurate statement, but
I think it is.
I'm getting closer to becoming a soccer journalist as well because by going out for dinner with a member of the soccer media, that means I get to be a member of the soccer.
Yeah. Only a matter of time before,
The soccer hour?
Yeah.
Nah, I wouldn't call it that. I'd call it the footy hour, you know?
Yeah. Soon enough, you'll be working for Nottingham Forest.
Oh my God, don't even start with all of that. I mean, I got the follow on Twitter, got the follow on Instagram. I had the freaking collab. I've got Brennan Johnson, talking to me in the DMs. I mean, and what about that goal? Can we talk about that goal? I mean, did you see that run?
How mad was
My son?
your Man City fan son?
Do you want to know what's even better
Forest
about
son.
that? First of all, he was mad because the game should have ended up 5-1. Second of all, my middle son, Walter, and I, super hyped. Third of all, 3 weeks ago, I bought for my son's birthday, but didn't come in time. Walter, I bought him a Brennan Johnson jersey. I bought Oliver, the Man City fan, a Chris Wood jersey. Why? Because Chris Wood is on his FIFA team, and I was hoping that I can bring him over to the dark side from those, dastardly devils known as the Man City whatevers. And guess who scores to tie it up? Chris Wood. And then I give him the jersey after. He's like, what do you want me to do with this? I hate this guy.
Wow.
That backfired.
Oh, he's really a diehard Man City
Oh, yeah.
fan.
He's
like
all
that.
about Man City.
Man, he's outnumbered you and your other son.
It's fine.
Great stuff.
He has a name, by the way. His name is Walter. You forgot it.
I don't want to get him mixed up.
It's all good. Maybe one day they'll come in studio. Anyway, let's answer some questions. Lewis, number one is not one this week. Streak is over. First question was a duplicate of one asked last week. So over to Abay, our boy Abay, guys. Hello, Ariel. I often get frustrated when fighters don't use the post-fight interview well to set up opportunity. A recent example is Sergey Spivak. Great performance in a main event versus Lewis. Said he wants big fights, but when asked for a name, didn't know, and then calls for Jon Jones, who's booked. Contrast this to Chandler, who comes prepped, shoots his shot, and as a result gets huge opportunities at lightweight, only Vokes calling for the champ. Oh, there was a period there. At lightweight, only Vokes calling for the champ. Not heard Dustin call for a shot. Charles was in Perth. We just saw him hug Islam. No media. We know if Beneil wins, he'll thank Jesus and call to fight another 15 contenders first. I won't put you on the spot and ask for a promo, but as the man who helped DC, who's likely to get on a mic with a win and say something compelling enough to get Islam's attention? Because if not, I wouldn't rule out Conor versus Chandler, winner doing so and then getting a title shot. Thoughts? Much love, your boy Bay. Can I be honest with you? I think it's crazy that Beneil Dariush is taking this fight against Charles Oliveira, but freaking kudos to Charles for getting the opportunity because I think if you beat Beneil, you're right there. Beneil should probably just be that guy, but they probably want to kill some time because Islam's not fighting anytime soon. Ramadan's coming up. So you could do this fight almost as an interim. It's a number one contender fight in many respects, and that will be the bridge to maybe a late summer, fall fight versus Islam. The guy who's really left out in the cold right now is Dustin Poirier, and he deserves a big fight, maybe he should be banging that drum. Here's the thing. If Charles Oliveira beats Beneil Dariush, and I know Dustin's fought for the belt a couple times and recently lost to Khabib. If Charles beats Beneil, who would you rather see Islam fight? Charles or Dustin? GC, what do you say?
Yeah, this is a tough question.
Probably Dustin, because we haven't seen the fight, right?
Yeah,
I don't know why my voice went so high there, but you get what I was saying? I don't know why I went to Minnie Mouse territory, but, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and the way Islam won, it was such a dominant win for him. Like, I feel like I guess I would want to see Dustin. I really want to see Beneil versus Islam.
Yes, but the truth is, with Ramadan, not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah.
And if he loses, which he very well could lose that fight to Charles.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Then he ain't ever getting the shot. Anyway, tough spot. But yes, if I'm Dustin,
fight, though.
I'm banging the drum right now. I saw him tweet a little bit, but bang the drum right now. Seems like that's going to be a number one contender fight. If Beneil wins, he won't be able to be denied. King Tyler is up next. Hello, Ariel and crew. Jen's Pulver announcement to join the UFC Hall of Fame and his subsequent interview with you were both done beautifully. His candid reaction after years of waiting and hoping was genuine and moving. Your point about the Hall of Fame needing him for its own validity was spot on. When Jen started fighting, I was too young to be doing wheelies in the parking lot or smashing Modelo's together. Shout out to Shawnee Strickland. So I wasn't familiar with who he was outside of you putting him over. Whether it be Corey versus Marlon or Jen's, what is talked about on this show has influence. Who is the next pioneer fighter who has been egregiously left out that should be unquestionably in? There are multiple that come to mind, and I appreciate those kind words very much, Mr. Tyler. Frank Shamrock obviously comes to mind. My friend Ant Evans, who used to work for the UFC and is solely responsible for resurrecting the Hall of Fame, tells me that there were some talks about putting Shamrock in, and Shamrock came in with a bunch of requests and demands. Even if that is true, and I have no reason to believe it is not, here's the thing. You don't necessarily need someone's permission to put them in. If Shamrock doesn't want to partake, fuck it. Just put him in. If someone deserves to be in, they deserve to be in. It's not, oh, someone deserves to be in and we're going to put him in if we could come to some sort of agreement on. No. If they deserve to be in, put them in. That's what I say. And so the first one that comes to mind is Frank Shamrock, but there are a ton. I mean, I think that they should wait 4 years. We're approaching year 3 of Anderson not fighting, I think, because it was 2020, I think, his last fight, if memory serves me correct. October. Anderson eventually should be in. Before a lot of these other dudes who got in, it should mean something. And so, yeah, if you want one name, the first name that comes to mind is Frank. But Jen's, you could see it meant so much. And I really do believe that him reacting this way makes it feel like the Hall of Fame means something, makes it feel important, makes it feel special. So, you know, a Frankie Edgar will obviously eventually go in. You know, I was going to say Nick Diaz, but he came back. So, you know, the clock has to restart. And I know the UFC has sometimes, you know, like they put in Kazushi Sakuraba. I think the UFC Hall of Fame should just be the UFC Hall of Fame. It seems like they're not quite sure. Like sometimes they treat it like the WWE Hall of Fame. Well, they'll put in guys who never really competed for WWE, and WWE Hall of Fame has now become really like the Wrestling Hall of Fame. There really isn't another one, a Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. I always feel like there should be an independent one outside of any promotion. But I think it makes more sense, especially since the UFC hasn't been around as long, to just keep it to people who, at least for now, fought in the UFC and had impact in the UFC. Pecan Pie up in this. Hey, Ariel, a couple from me. Can you explain the snowman reference? You mentioned that it made the boys pop in the back. The thumbnail for On the Nose this week is also a snowman. What's the meaning there? Listen, sometimes in the biz, if I got to spell it out, it just kind of loses its luster. So I'll leave the interpretation up to other people. That's what makes it magical. You've referenced many GSP Montreal pay-per-views and past Montreal events this week. Rank your top 3 Montreal events you've attended in terms of best crowd. Wow. This past weekend was unbelievable. The crowd was super hot. I would say UFC 124 is up there. George St. Pierre versus Josh Koscheck. Golly, whoops. There's a lot that come to mind. UFC 124 was insane. Of the GSP title defenses, that felt the biggest and the loudest for whatever reason, bigger than Condit, bigger than Diaz. I wasn't in the building for the Sarah fight. It was Passover, and so I was home. That was UFC 83. I was at the last game at the Montreal Forum in 1995, and that was very emotional. Maurice Richard came out with the torch and all that. That was huge. I was at a couple of massive Expos games in 94 and 93. Gary Carter's last game of the season in 1992, where he hit the ball over Andre Dawson's head, double, crowd went apeshit. That's up there as well. And I would put also the Monday after WrestleMania 18, the Hulk Hogan ovation that lasted like 10 minutes up there as well. But I can't say enough about the crowd on Friday and Saturday and how they treated Sami. And honestly, I can't say enough about Sami Zayne. I got a chance to hang out with him and his lovely wife, one of their friends, after the match when everyone was gone. And I mean, what's amazing is actually how much we have in common, both growing up in Montreal, both being, sons of immigrants. And he, Syrian, his wife, I think, is of Lebanese descent, Egyptian, Lebanese. Also knew mutual people. By the end, I felt like I was just talking to an old friend. It was pretty amazing. Connor, greetings, Ariel. Connor from Victoria, Canada here. Shout out to Victoria, home to the great Steve Nash. You did a fantastic job working at SmackDown and the Elimination Chamber, and you have recently rekindled the fandom I had for WWE growing up. Sweet. And I'm enjoying it, so thank you. A lot of other people are upset about it. I just want to let you know. But I appreciate the kind words. After the Sami Zayn main event, I couldn't help but think of the Volk Islam comparison. Wow. You know what? I forgot to tie that all together. Sami seemingly winning the overall fight, but not the contest. What a great shot. I mean, that's a great shout out right there from Connor. My question to you is, do you think the storyline is dead going into WrestleMania, or do you think we may see Sami return during the Rhodes-Reigns match to help the American Nightmare win the belt? It ain't dead. What it seems like we're moving towards is Sami and KO. And I love what they're doing, especially on Monday, where it's like a reluctant partnership. Sami and KO versus the Usos for the tag titles. And I'll say it again, and I hope they clip it off, along with saying that I'm some kind of shill. I think Sami should have won on Saturday. That's what I would have done. If I had the pencil, I would have made him win. Moments are few and far between, and especially the moments that we love, especially the moments that we remember, that we talk about for years and years to come. We will talk about this one in the build and the night and all that stuff, but could you imagine what it would have felt like? Now, I understand why, and they've got the thing with Cody, and that's going to be a big deal. And I will say, perhaps I am 1,000% biased on this one. I wanted to see the Montreal guy win. That's what was so fun about this weekend. I got to be a fan at an event and openly root for someone. It was fun. It was great. Like I said, top 10, most fun weekends of my career. I would have done it, but I fully admit that I am 1,000% biased on this one. I wanted to see him get over. I wanted to see him have that moment. I wanted to see him have the Foley and Worcester moment times 1,000. So no, it doesn't seem like we're going to get Sami in the main event. It's not going to be a triple threat situation like with Daniel Bryan a few years ago, but if KO and Sami fight for the tag titles and then they win, like this thing isn't going away. And maybe we get a rematch down the line. I still think at some point Sami Zayn deserves to be the undisputed champ. Would love to see it happen. It would be a very, very, very heartwarming moment. And they could even come back to Montreal. Why not? I mean, the business wasn't, it was insane. Jason B., Monday's show was pretty epic. New York Rick was right. There's more you probably could have gone into to share your entire experience, but you pretty much lived out every 80s, early 90s kid's dream, and thank you for sharing that with us. I appreciate it. I do really think that a lot of, I tend to sometimes, unfortunately, focus on the negative, and the amount of messages like this one that I received about people seeing how happy I was, people saying like, oh, I wish I could have done that, or I felt like you were, me out there, or how I would have reacted, was really, really beautiful. And there were two things that I actually forgot to share that I wanted to mention about what made it that much more special. Being in Montreal was special. Being at the Bell Center was special. Being with my family, my dad dropping me off Friday and Saturday was very, very special. Seeing how happy they were for me. Again, growing up loving this stuff and being pretty much the only one in my family who loved this stuff. That was all really great. Being backstage and how nice everyone was and welcoming. I don't need to get into all of that again. But there were two other things that I forgot to mention that I wanted to. Number one, first time back on Fox since 2016, since my unceremonious departure, which was a pretty cool, I don't know. What do you want to call that? Byproduct of all of this? Sliding door? I don't know. But awesome. That was pretty funny. Amazing. Nice. In retrospect. And then the other one was, and this one's a bit of a deeper one. I ended up flying out of LaGuardia, and I haven't been to LaGuardia in a very long time. And anyone out there who hasn't been to LaGuardia in a long time, you should go back. It's a completely different airport. LaGuardia used to be one of the worst airports in America. It was beat up, decrepit, like low ceilings, dirty, dusty, bad food options, cramped. It was horrible. Crazy that a New York airport would look like that and smell like that, and just like, it was just bad, run down, falling apart. It is incredible now. It's one of the best airports that I've ever been to in my life, including Heathrow, Paris, I don't know, name them. What else is there? The Toronto one is pretty good. I know it has some problems, but like in terms of cleanliness and all that, LAX isn't great. Point is, it is unbelievable. It feels like you're in a mall. The food options, the shopping, the stuff to do, the trees, all that stuff. This was the first time. So I flew out of LaGuardia, came back through LaGuardia, and I had not been to LaGuardia since February of 2021. And that felt special because the last time I was there was when I was flying to go do Bucks and Pacers for ESPN. And this was my first big trip in the midst of the pandemic, right? February of 2021. And that's a real major turning point in my life because I'm pretty sure that I had a panic attack while I was at the airport. It was a very, very hard time for me. I mean, I don't know if I've ever been more anxious, more nervous in my life. And it was about a whole host of things, what was going on in my life, leaving my family, all that stuff. And so I felt horrible. And that's really, after that is when I decided to talk to a therapist and everything changed. And so to come back to LaGuardia for the first time, and it looked completely different. 2 years ago, it did not look like this. It looked completely different. I felt happier. I was so excited. I'm going home. I'm getting to live out this, weekend fantasy. That in itself, that juxtaposition was incredible as well. And so there was just a lot that felt like it was coming together. And like I said, I refuse to let anyone, crap on this parade that I'm having for myself and make me regret or be unhappy about any of it. And it was just like a lot of those little things. I mean, the first person I see is Paul Heyman, who I met in 2010 and have stayed in touch with all this time, and seeing some other people was just amazing. It really was. It's something I'll never forget. So I honestly still feel like I'm on a high. I still feel like I'm buzzing from that experience. Like, did that really happen? And I see like some of these guys online still debating it, in like this sort of like sanctimonious way about what I should and shouldn't have done and how I should live my life and do all this stuff. Like, man, I never talk about other people's lives in media. I never tell people what to do. I never comment or criticize. Do your own thing. And if you really are confused about all of it, then you really don't know me or haven't paid attention to any of the things that I've said or been through or done. So bizarre, but I'm actually quite proud. I'm going to give myself the old Barry Horowitz. Haven't really let it bother me or affect me or ruin the experience. And so I'm very, very happy about that. Anyway, back to the questions. Wrestling. Do you have a favorite premium live event format? Do you wish there was one format that would return? I want the Soul Survivor format returning that they ran with, I believe, in 91. Love that. King of the Ring in one night I thought was great. Royal Rumble to me is the best by far. King of the Ring one night tournament was awesome. Soul Survivor was pretty great too, where basically it was like, all right, who was last in all these matches? And then I think at the very end, they would bring all the winners, whether it's 4 versus 3, 3 versus 2, whatever it is, 5 versus 2, and they would all have one final match. That was pretty damn great. But as far as the current ones, by far, Royal Rumble and Money in the Bank has become pretty damn amazing because you can get people over who weren't necessarily over, right? Like last year, you have Liv Morgan getting the briefcase and then cashing it in, and that's a huge moment to get her, to get her over. So those are fun ones. MMA, anything you're specifically hearing for the UFC 288 main, co-main, and location? Sad to hear Beneil has to fight again. Doesn't get a crack at Islam in July. Thanks again for all you do. Keep living your best life. We'd love to see it. Thank you, Jason. What is UFC 288? UFC 288. Oh, May 6th. Yeah. Well, as of right now, we have Aljo and Cejudo. Is our guy here saying that's not good enough? And then Beneil Charles, I mean, they might add another, but they can't keep stacking. Remember, we've got one on March 4th and March 18th and April, whatever that is, 4th, 8th, whatever, 8th, I think it is, 8th. And then you've got this one, May 6th. Like, there's only so many, right? And then you've got the July big pay-per-view coming up, so can't leave the cupboard dry. Good day, Ariel. What is a story that you had the inside scoop on, but either did not have strong enough sources or were not confident enough in it to break the story, and another journalist or insider ended up breaking it first? Were there any times early in your career something like this happens where you feel like you missed out? How does the process of breaking news actually occur? Potentially looking to take my football scouting background into becoming more of a journalist / insider, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Yeah, there are a few, and I probably should have done a better job of chronicling these things. I will tell you that, and I don't like to say it, like I hate when people, when a story comes out and then a day later people are like, oh, I had heard this, but couldn't get it confirmed or whatever reason. That sounds weird. But several years later now, I guess I could talk. It had been a pretty well-known open secret that the UFC was on the market, that they were close to being sold. But like, you got to get that one right? You have to get where, who, how much. And so I knew it was imminent. But I didn't really feel like I got out-scooped there. And sometimes it's better to just stay on the sidelines for those, because I'd rather miss out than get it wrong. Other than that, can't really think of one. I mean, the honest truth is there is obviously a ton, because I haven't broken everything in the world, but you need to be 1,000% sure. And whether it has to be at least 2 sources, but whether you need 3, 4, sometimes you need multiple, right? Like sometimes you need 3, 4, 5 just to feel confident. There's nothing more nerve-wracking than putting out that story, massive news, and doubting yourself. So you just have to you have to trust the sources. You have to trust that they're telling you the truth. And I can't stress this enough. Never go off one source. Never, ever, ever, ever. 2 minimum, 3 preferred, 4 even better. Never, ever, ever go off one source, even if it's a stone cold lock. You just never know. So that would be one piece of advice. Sir Tillerbear. Ariel, I was wondering your opinion on the recent Jon Jones tweets re his positive USADA tests. He is asking for reparations due to USADA's mishandling of things. Essentially, since Jon Jones's USADA suspensions, the science has changed, and now tests under 100 picograms per milliliter are not positive anymore. This is actually due to the fact that the tests have gotten more sensitive and are now picking up more substance contaminating foods. None of Jones's positive tests would be positive under the current rules. Do you think his no contest against DC should be restored to a win? I don't know. That's a slippery slope. You could bring up these things in baseball as well. Even Nick Diaz was suspended for marijuana. I think the guy that brought that up was a friend of John's. So I don't know. it seems like it should just be one of those things where, like, in the moment, was it legal? Was it not? So then you just have to leave it at that, you know? Because who knows what else they were testing for, not testing for, and all this other stuff. So I don't know if you can go back like that, if I'm being honest. But hey, if he's happy about it, then God bless. Josh, Ariel, longtime listener, first-time question asker. Welcome. You have experienced various combat and sporting events around the world. With your experiences, what are your top 3 cities you have ever visited in the world? Greetings from Edmonton. Hopefully we can get another UFC event up north sometime soon. Edmonton, by the way, one of the great arenas in the world. Rogers, I believe it's Place or Arena. There's one in Vancouver, which is Rogers, I think, Place. This one's Rogers Arena, yeah. Beautiful arena. And I was there in... a couple of years ago, was it 2019 when Frankie fought Max, and then a couple of years prior, Valentina and Amanda, both great events, crowds, all that stuff. Top 3 that I ever visited, I won't include Montreal, of course. I'd put Dublin up there. Dublin, sheesh. London is pretty damn great too. Sydney is up there. Sydney was amazing. I saw more of London than I saw of Dublin, but I really like Dublin. Hopefully I'll be back later this year. I'll go London, Sydney, and Tokyo. I'll go with those. But a lot to choose from. Oh, Rio was great. Abu Dhabi was cool. A lot to choose from. King Zalo. Greetings, Ariel. Got to see Elimination Chamber this weekend and was amazed. Never been a wrestling fan, but that was something special. By the way, I saw the ratings on SmackDown, and then I saw am I solely responsible for this spike in wrestling fandom? I mean, can I get a, what can I get a thank you?
That's all on you.
I mean, it just seems like these 2 questions alone are enough, evidence that I've sparked something here. Anyway, question is it better to attend a live WWE event or watch it on TV? I find myself loving the commentators on TV, and you have said that MMA is better to watch on TV. Is WWE too? Okay, so I will say this. Everyone, if you're a UFC fan, MMA fan, you should always go to at least one. The atmosphere, the buzz, the hype, the adrenaline, the hoopla, all that stuff. I do maintain, though, MMA is a better product on TV. From the announcers to the commentary to the in-between round stuff, the walk, you just have a better sense for it all. Plus the action, right? You don't have to look through a cage. Actually, yesterday I was at a Devils game. Shout out to the Canadians. They won. I think it was 5-2, something like that. Or no, wait. Was that the score in the Real Madrid-Liverpool game? Also a tremendous result. But I think it was 5-2 in that one too. Anyway, hockey is infinitely better in person as opposed to TV. Basketball, I find same. There's pluses and minuses to both. Football, infinitely better at home versus in person, like MMA. Baseball, to me, there's 2 different experiences. Going to the ballpark, summer night, few things better. If you're really locked in, probably easier to watch at home. So it just depends on what you're looking for. Wrestling is amazing in person, and you still get a great appreciation because of the ring, sort of like boxing. But yes, if you love the commentary and all that stuff, it's a little bit different at home. But honestly, wrestling live, to me, pro wrestling is better than MMA live. Plus, it's much shorter and all that stuff. So to answer, yes, if you're a fan, you should go check out. Pay-per-view is always the best because there's the least amount of filler. Then the TV shows, but there's more filler, there's more talking. House shows a completely different beast. That's just no frills, and you're just getting the wrestling, but it's, there's not as much lights, set, all that stuff. Definitely try to go to a pay-per-view, or as they call them now, a premium live event first. And one in an arena. In the stadium, it's cool, but it's just so damn big. Nathaniel. Hello, Ariel and crew. With so much complaint about the Apex and the lackluster shows put on there, how much blame can we as fans put on the UFC? In the end, it's up to the fighters to put on great fights and entertain the viewers. Also, there are hundreds of fighters on the roster looking for a fight, and many of them are not so well known. Enlighten us post-COVID fans. Before the pandemic, what was the scheduling like? What was the alternative to UFC Vegas and the Apex? And would it make sense to continuously host in other venues with low-name fighters and risk having low ticket sales? Well, that's the thing. A lot of these fights that are just sort of ho-hum would be better if they were in front of a crowd in an arena. And by the way, post-COVID fans, guess what? All these, like, it was the same number of events, except instead of being in Vegas at the Apex this weekend, they were either at the Hard Rock or the Palms or Greenville, South Carolina, or Chicago or Sacramento or Edmonton or Saskatchewan. They were just in a random city or Nova Scotia, and it was just better because they were excited and the crowds were into it. And was every crowd a sellout? No, but it all felt big. It's, you know, it's like the Austin card from last June. There was no real connection to Austin. It just felt bigger. And yeah, same amount of fighters, same amount of events. It's just now they've tiered them. Pay-per-views, major fight nights, Cheeto Sanhagen type, and then these ones where they could put anything on and they don't have to worry about ticket sales. So it gives them a bit of an out. As a result, you don't get the same quality every time. Now, was every main event a banger? Was every card a banger? No, but I could tell you it's very easy to move a Cheeto Sanhagen card when you don't have to worry about the card you're moving it off of, selling tickets, losing out, anything like that. Sam, hi Ariel. It seems One Championship has planned their prime events to coincide with weaker UFC weekends. This weekend is another example where they will likely be the best show of the weekend. My question is specifically for social media guru New York Rick. Do you think One could be doing more to promote these cards on social media? And how long do you think it will take for the USA fans, to catch on that One on prime events were all around or are all around better than most UFC fight nights? Cheers to you and the crew. New York Rick, are you there?
I'm here.
What do you think of that question?
I actually think social media is the one place where One Championship shines most. Like, they seem to have a decent following, a solid strategy, pump out a lot of content. So I don't think they're falling short in terms of social media. I think they're falling short in terms of telling compelling stories, long-term stories, giving fans a reason to tune in, and not social media. I don't think it's as easy. Like, if the idea of promotion, whether we're talking about One, Bellator, or anybody else, was just put up more social media content, it'd be a lot easier, but that's just not reality. That's not how it works. They need to have a product that people want to tune in for. And the UFC took a very long time to establish that and develop that. And then they did. And now they can kind of do whatever they want, and the fans are already there by habit. But they've built that habit, and they did that for a very long time. So One, Bellator, others, PFL, they need to build habits with their fan base and their consumers. But I actually think social media is where One is comparable to a lot of the other promotions. They do a decent job there.
Just being on Amazon isn't enough, obviously. You need to put on fights that people care about, that people are emotionally invested in. I mean, again, going back to Elimination Chamber, like, we were emotional. Speaking of, the fans, like, emotionally invested in, like, that's the ticket right there. That's the dream. Like, we care. We want this guy to win. We want Volk to win. We want him to get over. Or you want to see Jon Jones, like, because you are emotionally invested. They're not just guys, and that's always been the biggest problem with One, and to a degree Bellator as well, right? Putting on
I think
fights
it's every
isn't
promotion.
enough. Yeah,
it's every promotion that's not the UFC, because the UFC now has it by default where fans will tune in, and it can't just be one night, right? Because what typically this is the trend that I see. This is my personal opinion. This can't be stated as objective fact. I see Bellator or PFL or One grab the spotlight for one night, and it happens sometimes where, you know what, man, they went head to head that week with the UFC, and they won the week. But then what? How do they keep that momentum? How do they win the next week? And how do they win the next week? And how do they win the next week? And they can't. They aren't able to do that. They haven't been able to beat the UFC's machine yet, which again took many, many years to develop, but it is fully developed at this point.
yeah.
It's going to take more than one good night, and it will continue to take more than one good night. So you need to continue to acquire talent. You need to continue to make interesting storylines and interesting fights, and you need to do it on a very consistent basis, because those 1 week, 1 month wins are not going to be the thing that changes the tide.
Thank you for that insight. We move along now to Gilbert. Ariel, hope your week is going great. Thank you, it is. You just said on Monday, every time they come for me, it backfires. I think it's a great example of how moving with integrity can almost make you bulletproof against people taking shots at you. I've also heard you say, no more high road Helwani, but I don't think that defending yourself and taking the high road are mutually exclusive. Now, my question, and I'm sorry if it's too personal, Ariel, is there any example of a time in your life where you did not act with integrity and that you now regret? If so, what happened and what would you do differently? Keep up the self-love, peace. Jesus. Whew. I mean, is there anyone that has to, open his soul up to you guys more than me here? Could you imagine like someone like Dana White answering a question like that? I mean, the biggest regret of my life is without a doubt, the whole Fox UFC thing. That's without a doubt the biggest regret of my life. And if you think what happened this weekend was the same as that, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Again, for the 10th time, not a wrestling journalist, don't want to be a wrestling journalist, never tried to be a wrestling journalist, interview wrestlers, enjoy that tremendously. And if you view that as a form of journalism, great. And I would argue that I do practice journalism while doing that. I'm asking questions and things of that nature, but it's not my day-to-day beat. And so it'd be no different than, a wrestler popping up on the Bill Simmons podcast and then all of a sudden being like, isn't that guy a wrestling journalist? No, he's asking him questions. He's doing an interview. To me, it's different than someone who does it day to day, reports on every show, every single detail involving that world. And so that's why the Fox thing was different, because I was an MMA journalist and I did have an MMA show, and I asked a lot of people for their opinion on that, including ones that worked at Fox, and they all said, you're crazy if you don't do this. And so I listened to them, and I just regret doing it. Now, it's easy for me to say that now, knowing how it played out or what it did for my career. But I don't know. I wish it was cleaner. And I wish it wasn't as sticky. Other than that, I don't really have any. Do not regret going to ESPN at all. Have zero regrets about that. Made a ton of friends and memories and experiences, and hold no ill will towards them. The other stuff, it's really just that one. It really is. Am I a perfect person? I would say I have a lot of regret in terms of like things that I did in my younger days. Like I have regret that, I didn't leave my room ever when I was at Syracuse and was too, nervous to go have fun because I felt bad about X, Y, and Z, and I was homesick and I was nervous and I was too focused on getting, good grades to get into Newhouse and become, a great broadcaster. And I would say to someone who is, there now or in my shoes, like, chill out. Like, it's a long play, a long life. You can let your hair down from time to time, have some fun. I have regret about those things. I have regret about, high school taking it too seriously and getting worked up over grades and things like that, and not just having fun as a kid. But in terms of my career, it's the only one that comes to mind. And it's a big one. I'm not trying to diminish it. And of course, throughout time, like, there are little things, zigzag, but that would be the biggest one. And I would tell you this, if I didn't do this past Saturday's thing in Montreal, I would have regretted that forever. And I appreciate, people in my life, including New York Rick, who I ask his opinion a lot about this stuff, for, opening my eyes. And so, by the way, if you have any issues with my decision, please send them all to New York Rick. Thank you. Ben P. Hello, Ariel. Could you predict who the below list of fighters will face next? Both who you think they will fight, and also who you would have them fight if you were in charge. Khamzat, if he moves up to 85. Who the hell is Khamzat going to fight at 85? I mean, if he wants Whitaker, let's go. Why not? Colby, if Khamzat moves up. Gilbert? Tommy Aspinall. Wow. Frank fell off. There he is. A little late.
You're a little late.
I mean, it depends on when he's back. Wouldn't hate running it back with Curtis, Spivak. I would love to see him against Cyril at some point. Stipe, pick one. Dustin Poirier, Islam, Dominic Cruz, Rob Font. How about that? Or like a Ricky Simone type? Quick fire. Andrew G. Hello, Ariel. Quick fire question. Are there any rumblings about an upcoming Boston event for a pay-per-view or fight night? No, they were going to go in August, and then they did the Cheeto Cruz fight, and they moved it to San Diego. You're welcome. Nothing, not hearing anything at the moment. I will be honest with you guys. I'm not really like scrounging for this stuff at the moment in my life with so much going on. Sometimes it just falls in my lap, but right now, haven't heard anything of the sort. I will tell you this. The BKFC card on April 29th that Mike Perry told us that he was going to be a part of has some pretty damn big names attached to it from our world. So stay tuned for that one. Leroy, Ariel, Rick, and GC as NBA fans. And by the way, GC, no mention of your Hawks. I mean, 2 years removed from an Eastern Conference Finals appearance, firing their coach. You must be in shambles right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to make it through it, man.
You're not a big Hawks guy, right?
I am a big Hawks guy. They're just kind of irrelevant right now.
So that's it? You're out on them?
Not out on them. I'm just not going to waste my time, watching 82 games while they go 500 and get bounced in the first round.
How did this happen? I mean, 2 years ago.
Can I say something that's going to ruffle some feathers?
What, you watch all 82 games of the Cavs?
No, well, I do, but that's not what I'm going to say.
Okay.
I'm going to say more fans should be like GC. More fans should be like GC.
I actually appreciate it. I appreciate it.
This is nowhere is more emblematic of this than New York City, where the Knicks are doing okay. They're doing fine. But you start hearing about how they're going to do this. They're going to knock out all these teams in the playoffs. They're doing this. They're doing that. Be more realistic.
Well,
Set
that's
your
just false hope because we're so desperate for a winner, right?
Yeah.
But
there's no
need
chance
to
the
not-
Knicks are winning a title this year. Zero.
Oh, I know that. But I'm just saying, here's what I thought you were going to say, New York Rick. And by the way, I know we're not going to win a championship. I just want to have like a team to root for in April, right? I just want to play.
See, but you're
but
even
they're gonna
more.
lose.
You're more down the line than I'm talking about the fans that are on Twitter. Knicks tape this,
Oh, fuck
Brunson, and it's just you're sending the wrong message to the franchise that you're gonna exaggerate your team's success to the point where they have no incentive to get better. If you're like GC with the Atlanta Hawks, show me something. Make me believe that we're going to win again, and then I'll come back, and then I'll be a fan, and then I'll be there in the front row rooting.
So here's what I'll say. Like, people will bring up tweets of mine about the Knicks or even about the Bills, like back in 2011, where I'll be like, these guys suck. And they'll be like, you're not a real fan. Excuse me, why do I have to spend my time watching a shit product?
More fans need to become realistic like this. I used to be the live and die with every single game for all of my teams, which is like 5 different teams between Atlanta and Georgia. And then I realized now that I'm working in sports media for the last, 6-7 years, that it is kind of a colossal waste of time sometimes.
Would you also agree that becoming an MMA fan and a combat fan actually diminishes? Because, like, what
100%.
does game 46 of the regular... Like, I was at that Canadians game yesterday. Fun time. Montreal, cool. But ultimately, I'm like, what are the stakes here, right? It's not, like, what are the stakes for Jon Jones and Cyril Gane? I could tell you the damn stakes. What are the stakes with Valentin? You know what I mean? And so when you're so invested in this thing where it feels like everything is truly life and death, and then you go and watch game 46 of the regular season, it kind of feels like nothing. It feels empty, right?
Wow, this went over a lot better than I thought.
We're
all on
agree.
the same page here.
Yeah, I agree.
I also I feel like you got to pick and choose because I've got all my Atlanta teams and then I've got Georgia and then I also watch a unhealthy amount of MMA. And it's just like I have one team that I live and die with, and that's Georgia football. That's like no matter how bad they are, I'll still watch every game no matter what. I feel like you got to pick and choose. Like I can't do all 82 Hawks games. Let's get 100 regular season Braves games in. Let's watch all the Falcons games. Can't do it. Got to pick and choose my fandom. If the Hawks get good, I'll start watching every game. Call me fair weather. I do not care.
Now it's okay.
That's the way to do
it's
it.
okay if you see them turning the corner or something like that. But like this badge of honor that some fans like to do is like, I sat and watched every Sunday in
when
the
the
dark
Eagles
days.
were 4 and
Yeah,
12,
great.
and I was breaking my remote through my TV.
Yeah.
It's just like you got to tamp down the expectations.
Well, it's not
You
even the
gotta be
expectation. It's like,
realistic.
yo, you only get one life. Like you wait, you're a father of two, and you were away from your family watching a 4 and 12
These games-
team.
yes,
so that
these
you could
games are
say,
3 hours.
I'm a real fan. Fuck that.
But here's the
Give me a
bigger
break with that.
here's the bigger problem. You're telling the team that you don't care. That you don't care if they're good or bad. You're going to be there. I'm going to be there for this team no matter what, even if they're bad. They're not incentivized to be good anymore then. Then they just continue to put out the same trash, and you just sit there and you get another 4 and 12 season next year because they know you're going to be there. So
can I throw something else out
voting.
there? Can I throw something else
Yeah.
out there? That's actually why I'm such a big soccer fan these days. Legit. Because like, again, with Nottingham Forest, every game matters. They're going to play in a lesser league if they don't hit a certain threshold, right?
The relegation is incredible.
If the Hawks lose every single game, the worst thing that happens to them is that they get a good draft pick, right? The worst thing that's going to happen to them is that they get a good draft pick. If Nottingham Forest gets relegated, they have to work their way all the way back up, and they're now with 20-something other teams, and who knows if it'll take another 23 years for them to get back to the Premier League. If Man City loses today in the Champions League, and they're in a freaking, world of hurt, and they won't, be able to win in the prime of their, you know what I mean? Like, it feels like the stakes in the actual, European, like, country leagues and also the Champions League or so much more important than what we have here in America. Probably why NFL feels so important, because there's lesser games, right? There's fewer games.
I'll never fault anyone for watching like every NFL game.
Yeah,
just because.
But honestly, most people who do that
Unless you're
are just doing it for gambling. Either fantasy or gambling.
I was going to say fantasy is also another
It's
big play.
a form of
I will
gambling.
also say, a Sunday afternoon, you sit down and you watch football all day. like,
Random
with a group of
games?
friends. Oh yeah, with fantasy and gambling, like.
But that's what I'm saying. You're not just doing it for the love of the game.
game.
You're not doing
Yeah.
it. You're watching your
Yeah.
favorite team. Like
It's a nice camaraderie if you have a bunch of friends over and you get pizzas or something and beer and you make a Sunday fun day out of it. But I have
with
friends,
no skin in the game. Who's doing that?
I have friends that are like diehard baseball fans that I'll go down to Atlanta and it's a May 22nd game and they're like, let's turn on the Braves. I'm just like, please don't. Please don't. I just don't care. This game is going to be 3.5 hours. Like, there has to be something we can do better. And I used to be that guy. I used to be the guy that would watch the Hawks and cheer against them so they would get a better draft.
Oh God. Why did you raise your hand there, Rick? You're that guy watching football?
Yeah, I don't have a team, but I'll flip on the 1
Throw on
p.m.
Red
games
Zone
on Sunday.
Red Zone gets me amped up.
Veg out. I love it.
The stakes are higher because
Really?
there is only
We've never
16.
talked about the NFL once. You're on our group chat about the Bills and you pretend like you don't even know what we're talking about.
I watch lots of NFL. I just don't have a team.
Wow. Did you know this, GC?
No.
I feel like he was completely indifferent towards. I feel like your take would have been, I couldn't care less about the NFL.
Yeah. No, I love the NFL. I just don't have a team.
Man.
Frank, we got a breaking news, or
It's a great product.
This is a big revelation.
I mean, he's talked about it.
He has?
Yeah, to me
Oh.
at least.
I don't know if I remember that. Anyway, all right.
Yeah, new head coach coming for the Hawks in short there.
Yeah. What was the question again?
Can't wait.
That
Uh,
sparked this?
Yeah, what was the question?
Something
I
NBA.
don't
We're all
remember.
NBA fans. Something.
I don't even know, because the question that I'm at here is, Ariel, Rick, and GC, as NBA fans, does it disappoint you to see what's becoming the All-Star game? That wasn't even the question I read.
Oh, the All-Star.
No,
what
you
changes?
spun into the Hawks thing, but yeah, the All-Star game sucks.
The All-Star
care
game
less
used to be one of my favorite. I still think the Saturday night is fun, as I've said, but it feels so. I'll tell you this much: they need to go back to East and West. East and West was way better than this Team LeBron,
No
Team
doubt.
Giannis nonsense, right? Why do we need this?
100%.
I don't care about any of it. It's
East
all
and West,
crap.
at least it was bragging rights. Like, you remember that game in 2000? Was it 2001? The one in DC when the East team was like AI and Allen Houston, and they had that crazy comeback in the fourth
Stephon
quarter.
Marbury,
Yeah, Marbury.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kobe.
That was so much fun.
Yeah.
The problem is that nobody cares or plays anymore.
Yeah.
So what's the point? Why do
I
we
used
need to
to
do it?
love
If they
the
did
Pro
East
Bowl.
West, they're not going to
Oh,
play.
the Pro Bowl has
When I
always
was in
been.
Hawaii, I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. Get the whole.
But it's the
Get the
same thing with
lays
that
out.
too. They're in the era of minutes management, load management, injuries, protection. They don't play anymore. So why do we even do it? Like, why do I care?
Here's the truth of the matter. Everyone needs and I don't mean to be crass here, but like everyone needs something to, get excited for sports. And so the equivalent of, like Viagra is gambling, right? We can't, our society, it's true. Our society with TikTok and Instagram, we don't have the attention span to sit there for the love of the game like we did in the 90s and just watch. So we need gambling, fantasy to get excited, right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you want to make it interesting
like that,
really
yeah.
quick, put some money on it.
Right. So,
Get really-
like if I invited you to Devils Canadians, you probably would have been like, all right, let me put a little money on this
1000%,
so that I
1000%.
feel invested, right?
If I'm going to a game in person, I will gamble on it.
So, All-Star, correct me if I'm wrong, like you can, but it's kind of nonsense. Like who's really going to gamble on that? So there's nothing that gets us excited. There's nothing that makes us feel like, oh, this means something. I have skin in the game. That's part of the problem given our society. And in the NBA, they did this Elam ending? What is it called?
Yeah, Elam and
Yeah,
Elam
Elam
ending,
ending.
yeah. And I saw, I'm ripping off someone's tweet here, but someone said that a couple years ago that the Elam ending saved the All-Star game. In reality, do you remember that a couple years ago where it was incredible? In
Yeah.
reality, it was Kyle
It
Lowry
worked well.
that saved the All-Star game for that moment because he was like taking charges left and right, and everyone was like, "Oh shit, this feels important." You do the Elam
It was
ending this
somebody-
time, no one cares.
It was you can repackage this, change the rules, do whatever you want. If the players don't care, it's gonna suck. That's it. If there's no defense and it's just a dunk contest, just do the same thing. Do run Saturday night back, and even that sucks. Mac McClung was great, but like everything else, it sucks.
It sucks.
It's just they suck. If nobody cares, we don't need to do it.
And shout out to Mike Malone, by the way, who said himself that was the worst game that he's ever seen. The head coach of the, I don't know. Well, he's the Nuggets head coach. I don't know which
Team
team.
Giannis or
Was it
whatever.
Giannis? Yeah.
The only thing, there's two cool things that come from it. One, like what you've mentioned with the Hall of Fame, it's good to just see like great athletes together. That's still cool, right? Like when you get LeBron and Giannis and Jokic and Luka in the same arena, in the same room and having fun. That's cool. And two, I like the drafting, not because I think that affects the game in any specific way, but I think it's fun to see where the other players rate the players, right? Like who does LeBron think is better between XYZ players? Who does Giannis think is better? That's kind of fun. But the game itself sucks. 3-point sucks. Dunk sucks. Skills sucks. Just move on.
Hello, Ariel and crew. Nice. Santos, I don't know how to pronounce your first name. Kaino. Nice and easy two-parter. Have you ever done karaoke? And if so, what song did you do? If not, and you were going to, which song would you do? Of course I have. I feel like everyone on the planet has done karaoke at least once. I actually have a great karaoke story. In 2004, I broke my ankle after coming back from Syracuse, and it was around late May, early June. My birthday was in July, and I was pretty much doing nothing because I was in a cast and couldn't really move, in a lot of pain. Didn't have surgery, luckily. And I heard my mom and, well, then friend, now wife, talking about doing a surprise party for me at a restaurant in Montreal. And so I pretended like I didn't hear. And they did this whole thing. And we went to a restaurant and it was fun. And then afterwards, we went and did karaoke. And I sang Wonderwall by Oasis. You're my Wonderwall. But I couldn't stand. And I had to sit on a chair and do it. So I wasn't really that animated. And well, I did a good job because I have a very good voice, as you can tell. And some
The best.
unknown woman came and loved my singing so much, sat on my lap. Meanwhile, my then friend, now future wife, is sitting in attendance, feeling a little jealous, as she later revealed. And nothing really happened as a result, but, it was a fun story. And so every time that song comes up, including 2 days ago, she mentions, oh, remember when you did the karaoke and this was your song, Wonderwall. Today is going to be the day that we're going to throw it back to you. You know that song, Frank?
Absolutely.
Connor from Canada. Hey, Ariel. There's a school near where I live called the Dr. Eric Jackman Institute of Child Study. And given the shared name with New York Rick, I wanted to ask the guys, if they weren't doing what they are now, what would you be doing? And if there was ever a different profession you guys had ever considered doing. Did you know this, New York Rick? The Dr. Eric Jackman Institute of Child Study?
Yeah, that's my institute.
It's the institute in Canada.
Yeah, that's just the institute.
Have you heard of this?
No, of course not.
That is wild.
That's cool though. Shout out to
yeah.
Dr. Eric Jackman.
Connor from Canada. I guess he's a legend in Canada too. I don't know. What would I be doing? When I was younger, my parents always said that I would be a lawyer because I like to ask a lot of questions. Sort of like the kid from Home Alone. Does this have 4-wheel drive? Does it have automatic brakes? Does it have but then later in life, I got into media and I was going down the path of TV production. And so I guess if all of this didn't pan out, I'd probably be doing something in media, TV production, maybe writing, something like that. But I'm pretty sure it would be something in media. What about you, GC? What would you be doing?
Probably something else in media, but if it was just completely different field altogether, something like that I wouldn't love the work, but it would pay a ton, like engineering, something like that.
Okay. What about you, Rick?
Would have been a police officer.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Wow, look at you.
I like that.
I was down the path before our fated email.
Wow.
Wow. That
Like
is
I was a week away from going into academy before
Police officer power
we
couple.
linked up.
wow. Really? A week away?
He doesn't respond to that email. We're talking about Officer Jackman right now.
That's it.
Wow.
You're not talking about anybody because you probably wouldn't know me.
Wow.
Holy crap. I never knew that
I'd just be
wrinkle.
a cop.
Sawubona from sunny South Africa, Ariel. Quick comment on your discussion. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, by the way, with Eugene Bareman. I find it fascinating how low his tolerance is for his fighters taking damage. When you think about it, Izzy took very little meaningful damage during his title run. Only real war was with Gaslam, and Bareman still preferred to lose the belt rather than take shots. What are your thoughts? I imagine the teams beyond Chandler, Gaethje, Poirier have quite different views. If everyone coached like Bareman, we'd have quite a different sport. I admire Eugene and his approach, but wanted your thoughts on his allergy to damage. The reason for that is, in large part, and he alluded to this, he has experienced tragedy in the past due to one of his fighters passing away, and as a result of damage, they believe. And so that's why he is so, as you say, allergic to it. So there's a very personal reason for this. And I'm assuming any coach would feel the exact same after going through what he went through. So that's really the reason. Bad guy Rob. Hey, yo, Helwani. Who is on your pro wrestling Mount Rushmore? How does it stack up against your MMA version? Who would win in a Survivor Series top match between the two kayfabe-wise? Thank you, legitimate reporter. Love, Rob. I asked The Undertaker this question in a sit-down interview that is coming out, I think, not this weekend, next weekend for BT Sport. And the way he came up with the answer was fascinating. Mine, though, would be Hogan. Okay. I think mine would be Hogan, Brett, Austin, and Rock. But I wouldn't hate you. And the Brett one is a complete, homer pick. Wouldn't hate you if you said Hogan, Flair, Austin, Rock. I feel like those are the four biggest. As far as MMA is concerned, if everything is allowed, no infractions, Jones, GSP. It's tough. Like, do you go with Hoist because he was the first one? Anderson. Probably go with Jones, GSP, Anderson, and DC. But there's also Demetrius, Hoist, obviously, Liddell, Couture. It's tough. It's tough, as one GC would say. The Spliz. Hi, Ariel. I hope you are well and really amazing to hear about your trip to Montreal. Question is about rehearsal on the MMA Hour. Curious to know what it entails and for how long. Always been curious. It's awesome to see you moving past your old neurotic self and being able to enjoy your trip to Montreal and not let the haters bring you down. Have a great day, buddy. Yes, so many haters, so much jealousy. So to me, I can understand the haters, like the online people going like, rah, 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 rah. But it's the people in the industry, and not to name them, not to name any by name. Does that make sense, Frank? I'm losing my marbles here. Not to name any. How about that? But like the professional jealousy is a very funny one to me, and a sad one, pathetic one. Fans are fans, and they're going to say what they are going to say, but it's the professional jealousy that I've never really been able to relate to. That being said, yes, it was a great weekend. And as far as rehearsal goes, Frank is the rehearsal author. What is the word?
That's Andy now.
No,
I got tired of doing it.
You think it's really Andy now?
Yeah, I actually asked her. I was like, I need you to wrangle these kids because they're not respecting the mysterious round.
Wow. Why do you care so much? Here's my question. So we go through the whole show, like just the elements, like we're going to do this, the music. Do you feel like we still need to do it at this point, a year and a half in?
Yeah, definitely.
Why?
So the idea is that we have a lot of spontaneity in our show, which is
Isn't that fun?
I think it's fun. But in order to do spontaneity, we have to have a baseline. And in order to have that baseline, you got to practice your ones and twos.
Wow.
I love the way he said, I think it's fun. It almost sounded parental.
Yeah.
Feels parental, to be honest.
I feel like we're always in a pretty good spot. I mean, the beauty of the show is the spontaneity, right?
I'm not disagreeing with any of that. I'm not complaining for once.
Wow. Well, I enjoy it. And like I said, I always feel like I'm truly at home. No matter where I go, what I do, I always feel like I'm at home here. And I feel like we've gone into a great groove.
Do you spill soup on your carpet at home? Or
Wow, that's not very nice.
Stain is still there.
It's still there. No one's even touched it.
I have to
just
look
walk
at it
around
day.
it at this point.
No one's. I don't know what's going on. Is there no one that's? I mean, I've offered to clean it up. I took some paper towels.
Jim's gonna come in here and be like, "Oh, what's that?" And they're like, "Oh, Helwani spilled some soup."
I'm totally gonna blame it on you. Josiah, hey Ariel, you've talked a lot about your past anxiety and how you've managed it as you grew into your career. I'm also someone who's dealt with persistent anxiety while being in a front-facing job myself, interviews, presentations, being in front of large groups. And what it's forced me to do is over-prepare. I often play out every possible scenario beforehand so that I'm never caught in a situation where I feel ill-prepared. But I know that you don't go into your interviews with a list of questions because of how well you know the people and subject matter. You can go off the dome. So I guess my question is this. How did you get to the point where you felt confident enough to conduct these massive interviews without notes or pre-written questions in front of you? And do you often walk away with various things you wished you would have asked or find yourself stuck in an interview without a follow-up in mind? Well, about the wish part, yes. I can tell you there's things I wish I would have asked KSI, Jake, everyone that I talk to. That's a constant. That's an absolute. That will always, I think, bother me and be the case. I could always find something. There are times where, an interviewee isn't giving you a lot and you're like, golly, I'm kind of hitting a wall here. But I could always find something, or you just kind of wrap it up. If you're done, you're done. But it took a while. Like when I was in college, I would show up with a sheet of questions and I would ask, I would ask the guest, number one, blah, 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 da, da, da. And then I just found relatively early on that if I was confident enough and well-versed enough in the topic, why do I need this sheet of questions? Like I said, if you go out for lunch with your friend, you're not bringing a sheet of questions. So if I know who KSI is, if I've done my research, if I've watched the doc, if I've watched interviews, if I've listened to stuff, if I know who Yair is, if I know who Jasmine is, I don't need to have questions. So, if Conor McGregor walked in right now, I could be ready. I could do it. No problem. If Dana White walked in, if Scott, you just have to be well versed. Now, if Dale Earnhardt walked in, I could fake it, but I wouldn't be as ready. So it's just about the preparation gives you confidence. And over time, I think I've gotten more comfortable in my skin and feeling that I could hang in any kind of scenario. But that's just reps. That comes with reps. That comes with preparation. That comes with being prepared. That comes with belief. It takes a while. It doesn't happen overnight. Joe, hi Ariel. I'm a longtime listener from Todmorden in Lancashire, England, near Bisping's hometown of Clitheroe. Was just wondering if you ever considered a Where Are They Now, You Almost Forgot Perhaps segment on your show of fighters who just disappeared into thin air. I started watching UFC in the late 2000s. So fighters that come to mind are as such. TJ Grant, yes. Actually had him on, a few years after he disappeared. Buddy Roberts, Lance Benoist, Brian Caraway, Costas Philippou, John Cholish, Mark Hominick, Jimmy Hedges. Obviously, TJ retired. with concussion. That's TJ Grant. Right before he got a title shot, yeah, and he kind of vanished. It would be cool. The thing I struggle with is, in order to make the show as relevant and popular, whatever, people tend to gravitate towards the people that are in the news right now. So I try to mix as much as possible. But I love that stuff. That's why I love the Jens Pulver interview so much. I love the old school guys, so to speak. Cholish would be great. Was one of the first guys to talk about pay and all that stuff before anyone was. So, yeah, I would love it. TJ Grant, I hope he's doing well in Nova Scotia. Legend. Zach J, good morning from SoCal. I wanted to use my question to get to know more about you and the crew. This question is for everyone. If you could only have one breakfast for the rest of your life, what would it be? Slight alterations are okay, like if you choose pancakes, syrup one day, whipped cream the next is okay. Mine would be runny eggs on toast. Thank you all for your time and much love to all. Lately, I've been going with a very light breakfast. If I could just pick one item every morning for breakfast, it would be an almond milk cappuccino. That gives me great, great joy in life. And I've been enjoying having a lighter breakfast. Banana, cappuccino, waiting a little bit, eating a bigger meal as the day goes on. That's really my thing. I don't like to have a big meal to start the day, something heavy. Of course, I love my food. French toast. If I had to pick like an actual item, it'd probably be challah French toast. Love challah French toast. But these days, I'm not really indulging in that kind of stuff. What about you, Frank?
Sausage, egg, and cheese on a bagel.
Oh yeah. My go-to at the airport used to be sesame bagel, egg, cheese, and turkey or turkey bacon.
Nice.
Tremendous. What about you, GC?
Yeah, so we can only choose one item.
Mm-hmm.
The sandwich is, feels like multiple items, I guess.
No.
Wow.
So, like, I couldn't be like a full breakfast.
I didn't know
like
you're a
eggs,
breakfast gatekeeper.
Yeah.
bacon,
come on.
toast.
It's crazy.
Gatekeeper. I'm just trying to follow the rules of the question here. You said almond milk cappuccino.
It says
Frank says bacon, egg, and
one
cheese
breakfast,
on a
not
bagel,
one
side of
breakfast
hash
item.
browns. Make sure you add ketchup in there. I would just go eggs. The staple.
All right. Just straight up eggs. Any kind of way or?
Yeah, we can do. Yeah, that's the thing. Alterations. Scrambled one day, poached the next.
Okay. All right. But
Eggs,
there's no
eggs,
favorite.
toast, and bacon if I can.
There's no like favorite kind.
I love eggs Benedict.
Oh, tremendous.
Like that's.
You ever have salmon Benedict?
I have, yeah.
Very
I've
good.
I've had a lot of kind of Benedicts.
You ever have smoked meat Benedict?
Yeah.
Wow. You ever have
I've had a fried green tomato Benedict.
crazy? You ever have instead of the bread, like a potato?
And that's
pancake?
an Arnold.
Oh,
Benedict.
like a latke?
Yeah,
I have.
tremendous. Like a what is it called from McDonald's? The not the home fry.
Hash brown.
Hash brown. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm actually going eggs Benedict. There it is.
There it is.
I appreciate you helping me out with that.
Got there. EJ.
I'm just laughing because McDonald's is the purveyor of hash browns.
Yeah.
I need an egg bagel, untoasted, plain cream cheese and lox. That's the staple.
Egg bagel, untoasted.
Untoasted.
Untoasted
Why?
for sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or slightly
Fiery.
toasted.
Two untoasters.
Fluffy.
Egg bagel, untoasted.
I'm a toaster for sure.
I'm a plain bagel,
And
though.
what did you say? Cream cheese and lox?
That's it. Plain.
You can
cream
tell
cheese
it's
and
later in the
lox.
day when we're all talking about food.
Plain bagel, untoasted, Frank.
Can I tell you something right now? I've never had an egg bagel.
Hmm.
Not
They're amazing.
surprised.
You know what I find very strange? An everything bagel.
What?
Very
Wow.
strange.
Why?
Strange.
What's
Too much
strange?
going
So
on.
that's the thing. I'll do a plain or an everything, but nothing in between.
It's just plain or sesame for
an
me.
all or nothing.
You ever had an everything egg bagel, Rick?
Yes.
They're good.
Can I tell you one thing that I find insanely weird?
I'm pro everything. Yeah.
Onion bagel.
Go ahead.
Oh, I actually like onion bagels.
Yeah, that
Why?
sounds
Why
good,
is that
yeah.
weird?
Ugh, It's like indigestion city.
Ooh, no, I love it.
Place next to my house has a French toast bagel, which is tremendous, but it's more of like a dessert.
With like a cinnamon
Yeah.
cream cheese or maybe
And egg in it, so
chocolate
it's
chip
probably an
cream
egg
cheese.
bagel.
My thing is spice up the bagel, like do everything, do whatever, but don't spice up the cream cheese. Plain cream cheese.
Yeah.
Plain cream
Get the
cheese for
veggie
sure.
out of here.
Yeah.
Get the strawberry out of
I
here.
do strawberries whack. I do like olives in it.
Strawberries.
Bacon, whatever
Or
garbage.
smoked
you come
salmon
up
in
with.
it. Smoked salmon.
You like olives in your cream
Yeah.
cheese?
Well, I'm saying lox. I have lox, so like.
Yeah, but you could have it like with little
Doing that.
pieces.
I mean, I want the real
Yeah,
deal,
just
but
eat
if
the
I
lox.
have to settle, I'll settle.
You get a
But-
bagel every Sunday, Rick?
Oh yeah, Sunday
That's a great
bagels out on
tradition.
Long Island is a religion.
That's a, I mean, that's a fantastic tradition. I wish I had something like that.
My daughter's really into the rainbow bagel. What about your daughter's?
Yeah, spice it up again. Do
Well, I
whatever
mean,
you
there's no
want
real
with the bagel.
spice.
It's just plain.
It's just
bagel.
plain
But I'm
bagel.
saying-
they get very excited.
No,
about it.
yeah, the colors are the only thing there.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, do whatever you want with your bagel. Like, go wild.
Within
But
reason.
keep the cream cheese. Keep the cream cheese plain. That's
Sesame.
the message.
Have either of you had can you say either for 3 people?
Yeah.
Okay. Montreal bagel?
Any.
No,
Never.
Did you just
I
make that
have,
up?
yes.
no. What is it?
Fuck. I really blew it. I got to bring you guys back Montreal bagels.
Yeah.
It's like a completely different world.
We appreciate the popcorn.
You know,
I,
when
I got you popcorn, but I don't know if you
It's-
know this. I was just in Montreal. I should have brought a bag. My bad.
So that's why they
It's a
made this
good
choice.
it's a good bagel. It's a great bagel,
Oh, you had it.
but it's not a New York.
wait, that
so-
popcorn was for everyone?
Yeah, but I didn't want to give you any.
That makes sense. You like held the box.
Too dense.
Well, because
Too
of the
dense.
Pulled it away
because of
from
the
me.
Prime, the whole Prime fiasco.
I'm not.
Of
Wait.
2023.
The one who drank your prime was eating the popcorn.
Yeah, that's true. It's just so comfortable.
He almost
around
broke
here.
a tooth on it.
I don't know about that. Come on. Montreal
Go to
bagels.
your,
Shout
your
out.
secret bodega and get some prime after the show.
Pound for pound. They were saying like, oh, you can't get it at the bodega. I was like,
Yeah, what was that? We were back here. We're like, this guy's got this secret mythical bodega that he.
You want me to
loves
just
go
pull up? I want the freebie. What do you think I am?
I know when he was like, you literally can't get this flavor in America. I was like, Ariel's probably got it at his, mythical bodega.
Last one, Kobe. Hola, Ariel. Recently, a true legend of the hip hop game, true guy of De La Soul, passed away. De La Soul is from the soul. Am I pronouncing his name correctly, Frank?
Yes.
I know you have a love for the history of hip hop, and you are a proud wearer of the De La Soul dunks. In fact,
Very nice.
shout out. As a young college kid myself, I wanted to ask what albums you remember from your time in school that helped you get through the experience of being away from home. Wow. Please keep up the good work. Shout out to all you guys. Love from sunny LA. Well, like I've said in the past, I was a big Wu-Tang fan. Triumph. What y'all thought y'all wasn't going to see me?
That whole double album, though, right?
Oh, tremendous. I had the CD situation. It was great. I was a huge fan of Tupac, in particular the Machiavelli album. One of my favorite albums of all time was Regulate by Warren G. Regulators, mount up. It was a cold black night. A clear white moon. Warren G was on the streets trying to consume. You know which song I really liked and I could sing the whole thing? Second Round Knockout by Can I Bus? Or Cannabis? You remember that one, Frank?
Absolutely.
The first Fugees album I loved. The first Wyclef Jean album I loved. The first Kanye West album I loved. I loved. Well, Hit 'Em Up as a solo song was tremendous as well. I used to listen to a song all the time called "Sweet Mary" by Chris Vellon. Loved that song. That made me real homesick. The Lovely Feathers, my good friends. I used to listen to them all the time. Eminem, early days, loved him. Corrupt, I was a big fan of him with the K. Nas. I think that's it.
It's a lot of albums, man.
Yeah. I was a much bigger hip hop fan in those early days.
Did you have like a little CD wallet in your car?
1,000%.
Did you keep the cover art from the CD and the wallet, or just the beer disc?
No, it wasn't that loserific.
Did you make? Whoa! What is this
I-
whole? I don't go to Walmart. I don't put the cover art with the CD. Wow.
Yeah. Also, I used to burn a lot, so I used to like make mixtapes.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
yeah.
I was big into the
I thought you meant
mixtapes.
something else.
No, what is that?
I thought you meant something else.
Oh, like
When you say
Fatty Boom
that
Baddies?
could mean something.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
you're talking about music,
No,
you're talking
no.
about all this.
I wasn't into
Man,
that.
I used to burn some
Connor, have
Nah.
you ever had to burn a disc before?
CD.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had some burned CDs.
Nice.
LimeWire.
Oh yeah.
Shout out.
Napster.
Kazaa.
Oh yeah, Napster. I'm up on it.
I used to make killer mixtapes for Jacqueline, my then friend, then girlfriend, wife. What was it? What was the one? Remember "Do for Love," that Tupac song? What you won't do for love. That's one of the all-time great music videos. The little claymation one. Do you know that one, Frank?
Yeah.
Fuck, you don't even know. See,
Why
act-
would you?
You act
I
so
say
hard.
yeah.
You don't even know. I could tell when you know and when you don't know. All right. Anyway,